Now the third movie is gonna be really short because there should not have been the third movie because it should have just ended after the second movie. Um, but the second movie did end on a note where it was kind of weird. Like in the second movie, they boasted about you cannot change. Um, what was the line? You can't change your fate or like can't escape fate or something like that. And the movie's ending kind of like the movie's ending where they're kind of like, oh, we destroyed Cyberdyne and all evidence of the Terminators, and there won't be a future where the Skynet will destroy most of the human population. In the third movie, it has a little loophole, like you did not stop Judgment Day, you just postponed it, and and it all the third that's actually a pretty good storyline. I mean, like it builds on the fact that you can't escape something that's already been written in the future. I mean, even with time travel, like if you read about that kind of stuff, like if you change the smallest thing, something worse is bound to happen, something like that. But something is you can't like take out the bad stuff in history that's already been done. You just read about like quantum physics. So third movie, it's on the idea that even it's past Judgment Day and the supposed Judgment Day, and nothing happened. So John Connor, he's now an adult, and he's like, oh well, it's done. So I have no use in the world, and he's become like this loser. But it turns out that the machines still exist due to another explanation. There was something like Dyson's file survived, and it got sent into what's its face. I wasn't really paying attention, but it got put in the U.S. Army, and eventually, Skynet continued. Like, watch closer, because I didn't watch that closely, which is really bad. So, John Connor is just wandering around. He's having nightmares of the supposed nightmare in the future until the Terminator comes back. And this actually confused me because by movie logic, like this is my logic, because the Protector would always be a step down from the antagonist. So they got a human, and he was pitted against a T-800 or T-101, whatever, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So in the second movie, the T-101 was the Protector, but the T-1000 was the antagonist. So I was thinking maybe they would have a T-1000 as the Protector, and some advanced other T-1000 would be the villain. But they went with another T-800, so another Arnold Schwarzenegger, which actually brings up a lot of problems. Like they they I was thinking they might have noticed eventually that Arnold Schwarzenegger being sent back 3 times, or actually, yeah, 3 times in the past, and also since the Terminators are based on other humans, like they would, like someone might have noticed something like that. I don't know. I think I'm reading too deeply on it. But anyways, they sent back another T-800, which is basically a foot soldier now. Like the first movie, he was this badass, awesome soldier. Second movie, he was, a foot soldier, but still frightening. Third movie, he's garbage. He's obsolete compared to the TX, which is a T-1000 mixed with it has a metal endoskeleton, and it has a arm for which has a bunch of weapons on it, which basically is cheating. But whatever. So so Arnold gets sent back. He's sent to protect John Connor and a new character, Kate Brewster, which also pissed me off because she was not mentioned at all during the first 2 movies. And there's also a continuity error that I noticed, where if you like, Kate Brewster mentions that she knew John at childhood, but in the second movie, John Connor was actually like he mentioned he was in South America or all over the world learning guns with Sarah Connor. Like continuity, it doesn't really make sense here unless they messed up the timeline that bad. So I don't know. Someone tell me that. Someone please comment on that. So anyways, so the Terminator finds them, and they have to run away from the TX, and they also figure out that Judgment Day is still gonna happen, and it's gonna happen in the same year in like a few days. So they have to find shelter, and there's where the storyline hits. Now, a lot of people criticize Terminator 3, which is reasonable because Terminator 3 sucked. But Terminator 3, even though I said it sucked, alright, but it's Terminator 3 still has some interesting ideas, like the TX was not only sent back to kill John Connor, but it was also kill, like he got secondary objectives to kill his lieutenants, which actually, if they took out his lieutenants, it kind of takes away his ability to become the general, so they didn't have to kill him, which is an interesting sort of storyline they can build on there. And there's also some other parts like the Terminator who's like Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually the Terminator who was assigned to kill John Connor, and that Kate Brewster is the second in command who takes over after John Connor's dead. Like, that's actually interesting ideas. And even the ending, like, I admit it, I like the ending because, you know, the ending is that Skynet is not a single generator or a single monitor. It's like, it's the internet. That's basically the ending. They go to, what was it, Crystal Peak, and it turns out that the Skynet is just like, what's it called? Cyberspace. You can't destroy it unless you destroy every computer in the world. That's actually pretty good. And near the end, or middle to the end, where they're building up like, oh, the computer and TVs are busted, and the military's like, we can't get these things to work, they're all busted and all that crap. Like, it's preparing for Judgment Day. That was actually pretty suspenseful. So Terminator 3 is not a total failure, and even in the action department, it's not a total failure. But there are a lot of problems to it. Like, I mentioned some problems before, but there's also problems like, you're not really interested in the characters as much. Like, even Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, oh, and there's also some parts where, like, they kind of messed up the storyline from the original two, and they added this new confusing storyline that they could have just left alone. I mean, it's all these sort of stuff that makes Terminator 3 sort of downgraded, because, you know, as a movie on its own, it could have done good, but as a follow-up to Terminator 2 and 1, it's like, that's why people are sort of angry about it. But in my opinion, even though I didn't like Terminator 3 still, judging based on nostalgia, it's still not a bad movie. I mean, it's okay, but it shouldn't, I'm saying it shouldn't have been a Terminator sequel. It could have been a movie on its own with its kind of script.